We're so glad you're here to be with us as Mr. Daniel Zorn leads us on another forum. And particularly this forum is one of pride for Mr. Zorn. This is on the history of the creche. It is an interactive session, so if you've received a little paper from Mr. Zorn, I'll let him take leadership on that. I have nothing else to add to say. Daniel, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to everyone here. So, if we don't know each other personally, I'm Daniel Zorn. Look forward to building a relationship with you and friendship. And something that you need to know about me is that I love to discuss nativities. The art of the nativity, and especially my 40-year obsession, or addiction, or a hoarder, right? A collection of fresh parts that I've had for over 50 years. So this coming Saturday and Sunday, this very room will be the third festival of the Creche Festival Houston here. And we're observing the 800th anniversary of St. Francis' live nativity in Greco, Italy. And we asked artists to participate in a juried exhibition and create new nativity art. So it's a little different from the previous 2 years. Nothing has been repetitive. People thought, oh, last year was the same as what it was year before. It wasn't, and this year certainly isn't. You won't see anything like this that you saw before. Lots of 2D, i.e. paintings, and some 3D work. All been created, I would say 98% of it's been created this very year. People are coming from, we had 47 entries from 6 countries. The juror had chosen, I think, about 37, 38. I just received the piece from Bulgaria this week. It is horror, as Linda says, how my house looks right now. It's very hard for me to just see it all put together, but as it's been photographed, it is quite a stunning opportunity. Challenging, yes. Thought-provoking, yes. That's what art does. And so this is a chance for us to explore new fresh art in our contemporary time. Yes, ma'am.
The meaning of creche.
So creche is a French word. The meaning of creche is a French word. And so therefore, just like it might be crypt, or it might be a ballet and other languages.
What is it?
Creche turns into a place, a home. It is connected to the fact that there perhaps isn't a stable, but it is about the figurines. And it can be put in any kind of format. It can be in a traditional stable, it could be in a Roman villa, it could be in a countryside village. And so therefore, that is the use, that's why we use the word creche. Creche is used more globally than nativity or nativity scenes, as the case may be. This is a nativity, it's a nativity scene. I'm sorry.
The word itself means manger.
And it means manger, but it's particular to the characters of that manger. And you'll remember, perhaps, if you attended the first year, how there were nativities around the world. Some of them were from countries that utilize different styles of mangers. We in Western world look at this as a manger, but really this is just a stable. The manger is the trough that was filled with hay that Jesus was placed in. So this morning I want to take us through the gospel account of Christ's Nativity, the history and evolution of the Nativity Scene, and to answer and discuss one of the age-old questions. And there's many debates and things that happen. And the question is there a proper way to display the Nativity Scene? There's all different kinds of questions that get asked, and people make debates and have very strong opinions about things related to the nativity or the birth of Christ. And so for this morning, we're just going to focus on the question of what's considered a proper way to display, or is there a proper way to display? At your seats is a copy of the nativity story from the Gospel according to St. Luke. I'm going to ask for a volunteer to read it aloud for us. I have someone that will take and read it aloud. Yes, wonderful.
I think I can read it.
Okay, all right.
In those, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. Was the first registration when Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all went to be registered each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth, to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. She gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. And in the same region, there were shepherds out in the field, keeping watch over the flock by night. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with great fear. And the angel said to them, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy, that will be for all the people. For unto you is born this day, in the city of David, a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be a sign for you. You will find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace among those with whom he is pleased." And when the angels went away from them into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has made known to us." And they went with haste, while Mary and Joseph, the baby, lying in the manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying that had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. And Mary treasured up all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told them.
Thank you. Some of us heard that story a little bit more than others, right? But it's a story that we hear every year. Yeah. Tell me what you noticed in that account. Numbers. How do the nativity scenes reflect St. Luke's account of the nativity? Do they reflect?
It doesn't reflect the wise men, which usually appear in the
Doesn't reflect wise men that appear in the nativity scene usually, right? Wise men are found in what book? What gospel?
Matthew.
In Matthew. What's the difference between, does someone know the difference between Luke's account of infant Jesus time and Matthew's. Matthew's leads us in through the struggle, the dialogue between Joseph and the angel. The whole, I'm going to use the word controversy around the Mary situation. What do we do with Mary? Right? And we go from the angel coming to Joseph and saying, take Mary, and we jump into him taking Mary, his betrothed, and then we jump into the wise men coming. We don't have anything about angels or shepherds or babe in a manger or swaddling clothes. None of that is in Matthew. And in Luke, we don't have anything regarding it. It is all about the presentation of Christ. Interesting. The Nativity Scene is a vast part of the Christmas customs and traditional customs. And what are some Christmas customs? I know you know them, you got them, you're doing them, right?
The tree.
So a tree, presents,
Pickle on the tree.
pickle on a tree, right? Yes, hide that pickle, find it, get a special gift.
The reed.
Advent, the reed. Sorry, stolen, right? So food, cuisine, the custom, music, carols, those are customs.
That started in October.
Right, that makes part of October, right? Cards, stamps, gift giving, bells, candles, decorations, poinsettias, evergreen, church attendance. That's a custom, right?
Yeah.
What are some customs here for Advent and Christmas at Christ the King?
The star.
The star,
The Advent Wreath Workshop.
Advent reading workshop, last Sunday, right?
The organ. Recital.
Organ recitals, the movement of the characters, right? Where are the characters? Where are
Scattered.
they? They're scattered where?
All over the name.
All over the nave. And as Advent goes, and as we get closer to Christmas, they all move, right? They make a journey to a central location that is Christmas. So how did nativity scenes come about? So we take and lots of also debate and controversy, but we're going to talk about the fact that there's an 800-year tradition that owed to the Genesis of St. Francis of Assisi is credited with creating the first live nativity this Christmas Eve 800 years ago in 1223. St. Francis had been inspired by his visit to the Holy Land, Palestine, Bethlehem, where he was shown where it was believed that Christ was born. No real issue around controversy, right? How do you know this? Some way through faith. We also believe it was perhaps, if we look at, agricultural times and sheep herding and tending in the fields, it wasn't December, it was perhaps March time. Things have been moved over periods of time. After his visit, his return back to Brescia in Italy, he went through Rome and visited the Pope. He had decided that he wanted to create a similar environment so that he could teach his worshipers and engage them in imaginative worship and devotion to the Christ child. And what we're doing next week, right? That we're having to ask people to imagine, we're asking you to also imagine. With the blessing of Pope Honorius III, because for another year, we'll discuss that the Nativity Scene from time to time was banned from actually occurring or happening. And I'm talking about actual figurines done or things like that. Francis staged a living nativity that included a live ox and a donkey and a manger surrounded by hay. So another controversy is that's not a nativity scene. And the donkey and a manger full of hay. But that wasn't his intent. What was his intent? What was his argument to have his worshipers do? To imagine, right? They were to see themselves in the manger of Son and Preach, right? They were taken through a place of understanding that this king was born in a very odd situation. It wasn't a palace, this wasn't a hospital, and think about the 1223 medieval times, it was us and them. So as part of this Christmas Eve gathering, he read the gospel, he preached, illuminating the visual symbol of the creche by inviting villagers' imagination to complete the tableau, to see themselves, to see someone like themselves in there, to see Mary, to see Joseph. And it was emotional, joyous, it was a reverent occasion, and it's recounted by Saint Bonaventure in his autobiography, or since the biography of Saint Francis, and what's written. The people ran together, the forest resounded with their voices, and that thermal night was made glorious by many and bright lights and sonorous songs of praise. The man of God, Saint Francis, stood before the manger full of devotion and piety, bathed in tears and radiant with joy. So in scholarship regarding this event and in this biography, there is accounts of people that Saint Bonaventure interviewed. And one man, well respected within the community there, the mayor, as he's identified, as well as someone else that seems to be perhaps a soldier or a security person, someone that was a protector of the community, reflect, and this is then the piece that we embrace as core, is that St. Francis is so overcome with emotion in sharing the gospel, the story, and going through this, that a babe appears in the manger. And this takes, and you just have to go through it with, that's, everyone's imagining, everyone's seeing this is what will happen. Over the next few centuries, 1223, 2023, the Nativity tradition has grown in popularity and very artistic interpretations. So prior to this live nativity, there was art. There was nativity art. You found it in as early as 4th century on sarcophagus, where there is perhaps the picture of carved into stone Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, or you might find the wise men or things like that, but there was not everything kind of pulled together into a one scene, right? And the tradition evolved to have statues represent the nativity characters versus real people. So firsthand, you would have communities take local people, and they would comprise of those roles. And then we go into, well, let's have statues made, and those went into churches. And through all this time, you have some time saying, no, we don't do that. Yes, we'll do this with these conversation. We'll do the no, and you go back through all this history of yes and no, what's happened. What, in my opinion, helps to establish the scene, the nativity set, being okay, but only by certain people, is our missionaries. Missionaries that are going throughout the world, take something that they can show to people as they're telling the story of Christ and through the conversion. In-home nativity scenes became more popular and are made from many different materials. We know that most nativity creches are not biblically accurate, as both the shepherds and the magi, the wise men, were not both present immediately at Jesus' birth. Yet the scene includes these characters essentially to the nativity story in Bethlehem. It is a snapshot. It is perhaps not accurately correct, but it is to be able to roll all the different stories of the nativity of the birth of Christ altogether. These intricate scenes remind us of the eternal presence of God, humbling himself to come into the world as a man, to save us from sin and bring us to eternal life. Within nativity culture, fresh art, there are numerous debates about aspects of the nativity scene. And it can be about not only the placement that we're addressing here, but it can also be how colors that are used, right? We can talk, there's a discussion about, is it a stable? Is it within some kind of other tableau piece for that? What is the position of Christ? What does the Christ child tell us? The hands are folded. That usually comes from a certain culture. Hands stretched out in the length of, as if you're foretelling the crucifixion. That's another piece that comes from other parts of the world. Child with his hands lifted up, out from it is something else. So that's what's beautiful about that to me, the addict, the order, collector, is that you can somewhat take and look at this art, and without reading or knowing anything about it, you can pretty much tell where it comes from, what is the basis, what's been taught. And that's kind of nice in terms of that also happens in art that we see in museums or galleries, that we can say, look at this is very apropos to this kind of artist or art or time or within that piece. So today we're going to use a cornhusk nativity from Czechoslovakia, and I have also, some of you have little index cards with little names on them, and that is your role. And we're going to ask you to come up and take your piece. I'll help you make sure you get the right one. And then we're going to take and put them into the stack and create the nativity scene. Art historians, researchers, museum curators, and scholars in nativity culture and fresh art have discovered in their research that each nativity figurine had been assigned a specific place in the scene since the Middle Ages. So when there started to be this allowing to take and have scenes made, we're then going to also give you instructions that it must be done this way. And that's what we're exploring. And then we're going to ask the question about the proper placement. So we're reaching back to Middle Ages to take and look at where people think. And still today, there is a discussion, and I actually, the last few years, have had people tell me that's not correct. And that's a beautiful thing about art. And then I invite them to help me next year put all this out. And you have control. There it is, right? So, the baby Jesus is always in the center. And all other characters are positioned around the nativity scene. Care must be taken so that the back of the child remains generally free, where there is no one, neither a person nor an animal. And this is where I first break it, because not everyone has a lot of space to make sure that baby Jesus is unencumbered by anybody else. And so sometimes I might get the ox and ass close to him, or I might get Mary covering both. I ask for forgiveness. So who has Jesus? Okay, come forward. I'm going to let you place baby Jesus in the center, and where you put it,
Baby Jesus.
that's baby Jesus in a manger.
With his arms out,
His arms out.
right or left?
How,
Well, I'd put it that way,
okay.
because if I were a mother, I would probably be behind it and I would pick baby Jesus up this way.
So as a mother, you would be
I would be back here.
very careful and cautious with the child. Love that, because there's a debate about that. Is come up that we always put the baby out, right? So the child is facing outward. Okay, and many people, especially, I would be wrong to say where this movement is coming from. The child, for a mother, they believe the child is facing the mom. Is then have that relationship, that bond. She's watching the child looks, so there's people that say, oh, baby Jesus should be facing into it, but understanding that, oops, we go 1960s, Jesus falling apart. The viewer, this is done for the viewer, right? So the Christ child is faced out. Yeah.
I don't know how relevant it is, but is the, Pavlovi Bond community, I'm assuming there's one of those, are y'all, connected communities, or the Creche community and the people who do live reenactment?
Is there a connection between the two?
Yeah, y'all actually already tried to. Because, you know, when you're staging something, you actually do.
That's an interesting thing. I have not experienced that. Because what I'm used to being a part of is actual, yes. But I love that idea of the live and the coming together, because you also have moving parts, moving ages, I mean, there's nothing wonderful than watching not only a live nativity come together, but also a Christmas play, Christmas drama, right? Because there's all different kinds of span of attention. There's all different kinds of ADD going on. There are people that will want to hold baby Jesus, and that's theirs, right? I mean, how many times have we seen that lovely video where the shepherd and Mary are fighting over the fact that she wants to take the baby out of the manger. He's like, no, they're going to go back there. And so during this play, you're having this drama go on between the two, right? So we have Jesus in the center. And let me put it back to where we have Galen, I appreciate you sharing why you felt you did. And who has Mary? Who has Mary? Mary is to the right of the child. Seen by the spectator, she is on the left. So Mary, there you go. Mary facing you is on the left. The seen by the spectator, Mary is to the right of the child and left to the spectator.
Okay.
And there's lots of, you don't know that. And since it's corn husk, it's a natural color, right? But what color is usually associated with Mary? Blue. Thank you very much. Behind or next to her, this is what I like, is the ox. Who has the ox? Rebecca, which does not actually appear in St. Luke's Gospel, okay? But is considered a kosher animal and symbolizes the people of Israel and Christianity. So this is on Mary's side.
Mary's side.
It is behind or next to her. And so here we have Mary, Mother of God. We have the animal that is considered kosher. We have who represents Israel and Christianity. The shepherd approaches with their sheep. Who has sheep? Come on up, let's see this come up.
Joseph is still invisible.
The shepherd. You get that out of them. You're telling me what you have, the sheep and the two little boy shepherds, or girl shepherds, or children shepherds. And they go on what side? They're all on Mary's side.
Oh, they're on Mary's side?
They're on Mary's
So
side.
they have to be over here? Are they in or?
They represent, it's just perfect. They represent the believers who bring sacrificial animals, food, and clothing. So they're all on Mary's side. All on Mary's side. And they're shepherds, and so the sheep go with them, and the other little shepherds. So you're seeing kind of an order of right and left. All right. Thank you. On the right side, Joseph. Who has Joseph? Joseph is on the left side of baby Jesus. This is on the right side by you.
By the what?
So on the opposite side,
Oh.
he's the left of baby Jesus and right to you.
So there's a question.
Yes.
So why are the shepherds and the oxen on Mary's side?
So they are considered more not of the world. That it is where they are people that are connected. They were told by the angel to go to see the child. They are bringing sacrificial animals, food and clothing. It is, if you want to take and use a word that's been used a lot, like it is the Jewish, it is the Christian side, it is the believer side. So next to Joseph is the donkey. Who has a donkey? Everybody has a donkey. Also not mentioned in Luke's gospel.
Where does donkey go?
Donkey goes on the left side, next to Joseph.
Next to
All
Joseph.
now working on the left hand side.
Yeah, that's fine. Just make it, oh,
Good.
sorry, don't.
And the donkey is interpreted as an impure animal. It is not kosher. And it symbolizes non-religious or even pagan people. One side is religious, Jewish, Christians, believers, the others pagans, and non-religious people. So, not in St. Luke's gospel are our three wise men. As you know, there's a whole debate around, was there 3? Was there 12? Was there whatever number it is. But we're using 3 wise men. Who has Gaspar? Melchior? And Balthazar. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna just give you just a minute and we'll take and connect which one it is, okay? The wise men are from the east, another controversy, and I'll help you identify which ones you have. They bring their traditional gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Looking at them, who do you think has gold? Okay. Who do you think has frankincense? And who is the myrrh? Okay. So we have the, just one moment, we have the depicted with youth, middle age and old age. Can't necessarily tell this in the corn husk, but when you think about it, you'll see that one is pretty much always a younger versus then a middle age and then an elderly or an old age. They are on the one hand the symbol of the different stages of people's lives. On the other, they're representing one race, each descending from Noah's sons. Others, the origins of Africa, Asia, and Europe, 3 continents that were known at that time. So Middle Ages, the continents known, Africa, which is, go ahead and do the Balthazar.
Well, Balthazar, I don't think I have Balthazar. On the right?
Yes, all on that side because they are representative of what? Non-believers. Pagans, perhaps. Remember then there is the Melchior and Gaspar.
It's the oldest.
So we know who, what is Balthazar had the frankincense?
That's what they, that's also. Since Melchior represents the continent of Europe. Thank you. So what do we have there? We have young, middle, old. We have 3 races: Caucasian, Asian, African. We also have continents of Africa, Asia, and Europe. So the question becomes, wise men from the East? Well, lots of geography, think about where Bethlehem is. And the question is, how is Europe east of Bethlehem? So therefore, you can get into big arguments about that, right? But it's all, once again, with faith that we go into what this symbolizes, what these things represent. So what about the angels? So we don't necessarily have this, but in some places, some nativities, you have an announcer angel, and it symbolizes Gabriel, to inform the shepherds of the birth of Jesus Christ. The angel is usually mounted above the crib, suspended using a special support placed on a taller object from behind the nativity. We have multiple angels. We have 3 angels. We have a multitude of angels that form a heavenly choir. And unlike the announcing angels, they are located anywhere you want to put them. Left, right, both sides. And Caroline, we're gonna put them on this little perch here. That's a little, yeah, you can go around the front. If that's easier for you.
You want,
If all 3 can go on there, that'd be great. A little choir of angels. And we're gonna make sure that the wise men who are traveling from the east have some means. And we have
I can make that.
one family that is passed out on this long journey. And then we have the star. Who's the star of the show? The star serves as a guide to the shepherd on the way to the stable. It does not necessarily have to be integrated into the nativity scene. However, the star is such a significant element of the Christmas history that many people attach it to the roof of the stable. And we're going to, we're going to drape the ribbon over the sides so the star is hanging. And thank you. So I found it interesting. What's nice is to see that the star, for some, take and they put the star off, they put the star above. This is just as angels happen. Imagine an angel up here, where you've taken something that elevates the announcer angel, the choir of angels are everywhere, everywhere. And so the star is there, it's hangs above the piece. It's an interpretation, right? So, when and for how long must a nativity be up? And so there are rules about that. There was recommendations or things. You keep it up through Epiphany, right? When the wise men imagine come. Some people don't take it down until February 2nd, which is Candlemas. What? Candlemas. Candlemas is when there is the purification of the oil candles that have been used through the years. It is a very, it's observed in Roman Catholic, Orthodox churches, some Western Christian churches that are very sound in their symbolism, their rites, things like that. We in the past have also acknowledged or recognized candles that it's falling on the for considerations. Minimal, large scene with sacred and profane, electric lighting, candles. Some people put an electric light in their stable and turn it on as a star. There is where people take and surround it with candles. You may find a candle that's put inside. There's different kind of options and brevity that's given to this whole kind of piece of how do we take and make this, in a sense, a sacred tableau, right? People decorate it with flowers, with evergreen. What's recommended is if you are decorating it, that it be something live. Kind of like what we recognize in terms of our altar flowers, right? Those are live things. So you would want something, they recommend something live to that. So then the question is there a problem? And the conclusion is, what matters is that it speaks to you, in my opinion, right? What matters is that you are giving thought to it, that you are thinking about what you're putting together, that this is a opportunity to recognize, to worship, to contemplate Jesus, to interpret, to understand, to ask questions. What is also very interesting is that as you go through different kinds of cultures, is that you see different kinds of things. So a large, where they're doing villages, right? And these are sometimes real elaborate. I mean, they may span this entire hall, and it's multi-tiered, and it is a village. And a small portion of that is nativity, is that stable, is that cave. There's all this other activity of Bethlehem all around. You see that in the French Fanton tradition of nativities of that carries on this whole collection of village and townspeople and animals and activities and water wheels that go around, and someone is washing and someone that is selling, ideas for that kind of.
Yeah, in some of the churches in Europe, and I guess in Virginia, Germany, and France, the whole front of the chancellor is nativity scene. It's just, it covers the whole thing. All the way across.
So you'll find that in European countries where there is just large nativity scenes that are in the chancel that are just, elaborate pieces for that. And you'll see that even as it translated here. There's some wonderful places that a sign has been made, a different kind of location where there is the nativity. The Vatican, for instance, it's not necessarily at in the altar where it all is. There's this very large area that eventually is the Christ child is taken and placed in the manger, and it's huge. It's life size. So Jim.
So in some Hispanic communities and cultures, they on the 24th, they have a special thing to do with the baby Jesus. It's putting the baby Jesus to bed. And so that usually happens either at home or it happens in a parish, and they swaddle the baby, they have a couple of songs, and they put baby Jesus in the manger. The manger is fascinating. And then at home, after the midnight mass, you would go and you would kiss the baby Jesus and asking baby Jesus for a wish or a prayer. And then in our family, we take a Turkish delight and say, thank you, God.
So there's customs that are built on that, Caroline.
That is, so we don't put baby Jesus in the manger until the 24th.
Right.
Empty.
Right, it can't be until then. And that is something that's interesting, is that the baby does not appear until the 24th.
Is there any characterization of the Hampton Inn that they couldn't see?
In those large tableaus, you do see that. You do see an innkeeper, because they're making this big, huge village scene. So there is that opportunity for that. I don't think that person perhaps is popular, but because they wouldn't invite in. There is interesting piece is that there are nativity scenes that are rooms, right? Not a cave, not a stable, but a room, perhaps in some kind of shelter, some kind of shack, let's just say, right? It all depends upon what you want to embrace as your story. And I think that that's what is so very special, and something that as this year has gone on and leading up to this next weekend, people have said, oh, and my response is, I probably would not have chosen half of this exhibition. I have come to learn it and love it, and I've come to embrace it, but it is what the answer goes to, that it speaks to you. You may remember a piece that is shown last year, and it was entitled Umbilical Jesus, right? And it was over here, we remember where I placed it, and it was something that really took a lot of people to wrap their heads around. And it was God represented as the flower pod. So in art, a deity is represented, lotus flower, a flower pod, horn, and from that flower came the umbilical cord down to the child. Jesus is descending from God. And Mary and Joseph are in the back of the nativity with an empty crib, and who is receiving the child is an angel and a bishop, as identified by the minor name. So therefore, something heavenly, celestial, something holy receives it, and the church receives it to take, and then eventually you don't see this, but you interpret this and then hand it over to Mary and Joseph. There's all different kinds of ways in which people have embraced the nativity scene through their culture, through what it's made from how it is designed, how it is interpreted, what characters are in it. Some people only want Mary, Joseph, and the baby. Some people then add shepherds. They keep away the wise men. The wise men are all in another room. In a group that I'm part of, the man took 2 pictures. It is set up. And in the dining room are the magi. They're not near his nativity scene. The Christ child is not even there yet. Mary and Joseph are there waiting for the 24th. The Christ child comes, and the magi will eventually arrive at the manger on January. So it is a fascinating kind of story, an opportunity for all of us to become artists and critics, right? Rebecca.
One of the most startling things that happened to me was about maybe 10 years ago, so you have to think 10 years back. And we went to Christmas Eve service, and the bulletin cover was Mary and Joseph, Mary on the donkey, and Joseph on the way to Bethlehem wall. Christmas Eve, that was.
Christmas Eve 10 years ago, the bulletin had a depiction of Mary Joseph on the way, and there's a wall. Or you've seen the Mary Joseph and the baby surrounded by cycling fence. Right? Robert?
What makes a nativity scene an art form? Interesting question.
How would you all answer that?
I mean, you use.
How does a nativity scene establish itself as an art?
Yes.
Carolyn.
I would see the interpretation of it becoming the expression of showing the art side of it. So you know the story, but the way you imagine and interpret it, and the how you express it by what material and means and all, you're expressing part of the culture that you're in. That would be the art side for me.
So purist, in a sense, you would say, would just be the way it's in St. Luke, right? And what Caroline is saying is that what makes it art is how it is formed, what's it made out of, how it is designed, what's the medium that is used, what's chosen there. That's the creativity to it that makes it be art. I consider every nativity scene to be something. Any other thoughts, questions? Yes.
Obviously at one point, you became like, then when you realize you're like after the third, second, third, fourth. I mean.
So it started over 40 years ago. And I can't say I'm gonna bring it this year, because I think that would go into the storage unit. And find it. It is a small ceramic glue, just 3 pieces, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. That was my first. And not until I would probably say, 2010, so maybe not maybe 20 years ago, I started halfway through that I would come to think, oh, we've got a collection for benediction, or I never thought myself as a collector. I never thought myself like that. And at that time, around that time, there is and maybe you have seen it, there's a movie that came out, a documentary, and it's called The Art of the Collector, Becoming a Collector, or I'm a Collector. And as this gentleman, primarily this one individual that talks about collecting and how you choose what you collect. And over the time, people have asked me, how do I, why do I choose? Why do I choose this? How do I get this? What don't I choose, right? So, there'll be pieces that would not necessarily be something that I would welcome to mine. The people start establishing criteria. They're going to collect paperweights, glass paperweights. So they need to be glass, they need to be art, perhaps the Murano, Italian glass. That's, you start kind of saying, I'm not only going to collect nativities that are made from clay. You've seen the collection, you see it all over the place. It's all, I think at some point in time that now start to kind of say, let me fine tune it, let me take and focus on it. And that's a nice kind of process to keep it done. I always want to display this group, this collection. And so, that's when I think I kind of started thinking about, oh, this is because I only, where do you put them? They're in boxes in a storage unit. So not until that first year had I seen some of the pieces the last 10, 15 years. And that's kind of a sad thing because I don't have a very large place to display them. I would only display those which I acquired in the year. And so there was that criteria when I displayed at home. But not until we started bringing this in did I start, and I discovered some of the beauty. I forgot, oh my goodness, it was this whole, this is so sweet. I love sheep. So give me sheep for days. But there is a nativity that was from Germany, and it has 13 sheep in it, and I have not named all of them, but they all talk to me, and they're all really count. What is your favorite? You have a favorite nativity? I cannot share this. I love all my children, right? So I do hope that I just kind of see what nativity art and how it's formed, the kind of the history about it, how it evolved, but also then what people say is a way in which you take and display it. But the main thing is that it speaks to you. You take and you bring out your nativity. Who has nativities? Who has a nativity at home? That's great. Great.
Now, actually,
How many? That's all right. Susan, how many?
probably,
35.
some of them are small and travel,
Right. So when you travel,
they'll put in long like that.
so when you travel, that's something you collect from your travels. People do spoons, you do the tidbits, right?
Ornament and that is. Like the polar bear is a sheep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What is nice is that a couple of years ago, I started seeing in Target, Costco, you would see nativity scenes pop up, right? And for a while there, you didn't see that. But there is a kind of a penchant to go back and have that kind of tangible kind of piece for it. People may not associate it as a religious item, it's just something that's a custom, right? But I was warned to kind of be in Target and see I had a choice of 3 nice little sizes, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I got not sure.
Consensus of opinion on humorous nativity. Like I remember that wonderful one The
the
pleasure.
hipster nativity,
With the segues and the.
where the wise men on the segway, hearing in the top boxes, and Mary and Joseph doing a selfie, and Jesus, yeah. So that was very controversial. And it will, and it will come back next year, so I'm gonna give you a little secret. Next year's theme is unique and unusual.
Oh.
And we're going to explore the nativity through either uniqueness or an unusual piece, so that it's made by someone special, people that we know. That, or it's made out of something unusual medium, unusual material. And, there's an opportunity for that. That is very hard for people to wrap around. You'll remember first year, there was a table on the back for your consideration. And it had the hipster nativity, it had the Bauhaus nativity, it had the nativity from Santa Fe, which was totally out of this world, almost alien looking. But fascinating. You could, I love it when you can look at a figurine and you know who that is. You knew that that was Mary. You knew that, not just, you knew that there was no face to it, there's the shape, the placement of it.
And I remember the nuts and bolts or something to the fire. And I always thought that the little marshmallow was absolutely charming.
Yes, that's the marshmallow. Yes.
Jesus.
People had a hard time with that. I got a lot of pushback on that piece. And that's why I titled it for your consideration. I'm not saying that this is yours and this is it. But what I'm saying, and what I posted in the article is that that reached to the artist. Whether it is a Star Wars nativity, a nativity of dinosaurs, nativity of, all kinds of crazy, the disco nativity, where the star is the disco ball, goes round and round and round. And Mary is doing, Joseph is doing the John Travolta, finger in the air, and something. That is reaching someone, that story is reaching to it. And that's kind of what's very nice is that they're getting something right. They're thinking about something. It's not making fun of it, but it is embracing what is connecting them. So I appreciate your time this morning very much. I'm here. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Next Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 6 in this very room, we'll be looking at contemporary Creche art. I think Robert will define the nativity as an art form through this. And so it will be another wonderful opportunity to have a discussion about what is seen, what is not seen, how it's interpreted. And I was very, very pleased and shocked with, I would probably say, 98% are all done by professional artists. So that's taken to a whole other level. And Jessica Lockheed and Lisa Kruger were very instrumental in getting me connected with knowing how to make the call for entry and getting it placed in an area. A friend of mine from a gallery in Virginia knew Daniel, this is the route to go, and it was amazing to see this work that's coming from people that are making their lives by making art, and they really tuned into it. I've been very, very thankful for the opportunity. So I have a great time.
Thank you, Daniel, for that wonderful Sunday forum. That is our last Sunday forum in this as a class here in this room for the year. So we really came here and ended our season, our 2023 season right. So next week we'll be having Las Posadas program from 9:30 to about 10:20. Please join us. We'll be running around the entire campus looking for where Jesus can find a place at the end. So thank you all and have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you shortly.